Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rowntree Gardens podcast. Today I have the pleasure of meeting with Leela. Leela has been driven by music her entire life. She's always happy to listen to any kind of music and tells you all about the details that I had no idea. It's a totally different world. And she really kind of went a long way with music. It kind of led her life. She's traveled the world as a result of it. And still very involved, still always wanting to be a part of anything musical. And I think you'll really enjoy her. So without further ado, here is Leela. All right, welcome Leela. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. The reason I asked you on the show is because I feel that you have a very interesting story. You had the pleasure of, I had the pleasure, I should say, of hearing the story when you explained it to me about some of your travels in the East and how music really helped to guide your life. So I thought maybe we could touch on that a little bit. You love music. Tell me a little bit about when you started falling in love with music.
I started music at a very young age, maybe in my teenage. And I came from Penang. I was born in Penang, Malaysia, and then came to Singapore and lived in a dormitory where we had music. And that's when I fell in love with music.
And it never let you go since.
Pardon?
It never let you go since.
Yes. And Singapore was under the British system.
Okay.
So the music too was under the British system.
How interesting. And what does that mean?
The teachers taught piano and all the orchestral instruments, all from the British teachers from England.
So in Singapore, it followed the same as the British school system?
Yes, the British school system.
Oh, how interesting.
Yes.
So was your school in English?
Yes, it was all
Really?
in English.
Wow. So you spoke English even as a young girl in Singapore?
Yes.
Wow. How about in Malaysia? At what age did you go from Malaysia to Singapore?
The national language of Malaysia is Malay,
Okay.
but that's a secondary language. But English is the main language.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes. And the school system is all under the British system.
How interesting.
Yes.
And so when you were learning music and taking music classes, were you in the choir?
To begin with, I had to finish my high school, so I was involved in choir, singing, and learning piano lessons. And then we had an American instructor that came from the United States to teach us, but of course, being the British system, we had to take the British exams.
Oh, okay.
And so when it's time for the exams, the examiners would fly in from London.
Wow.
Once a year.
Okay.
To examine us, whether it is piano or vocal or instrumental, one-on-one.
Really?
And you don't know the results because they will fly back to London. And the results would appear in the newspaper.
Public newspaper? For everyone to see your results?
Yes, for
No
everyone
kidding.
to see.
So if you didn't do well, the whole world's going to know.
Yes, the whole
Oh, my
country
goodness.
knows. It was
Wow.
nerve-wracking.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. And so that's the system I went through.
Wow. And then as you progressed, I think you told me a little bit about you actually teaching music. You actually decided to kind of maybe direct a choir. Am I getting that correct?
Well, when I finished my high school, I continued my college in the same school. And I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, so the teachers came from the United States.
I see.
Seventh-day Adventist Academy colleges from Loma Linda, and
I see.
so they were teaching us music. But I was involved in the choir. I sang in the choir, and I enjoyed doing it, and I was singing solos and duets and trios and quartets.
Wow.
And then,
And was that all in Singapore?
yeah,
Okay.
yes. And the neat part of it is there were a lot of talented people, Oriental people, that had naturally gifted voices that came from the Far East to study in the same school.
I see. Okay.
And so we could form different groups. And so we would practice and sing for churches as duets or solos or trios or quartets. And of course, we had choir. We joined the choir as well.
And this was
That
all with
became my passion.
a mix of people from all over the
Yes,
East.
all over the Far East.
How wonderful.
They came from Thailand, from from China, and from Borneo, from Sarawak.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
And so then you went through college, and then did you continue with music after college?
Then I got married at 19,
Okay.
and so my husband was Indian at that time. And so he too was musical. He had tenor voice. So both of us were interested in music. So we were very involved in music in the church and also in the community. That's what we did.
And where did music take you? Did you end up traveling with music?
Yes, because all these students came from all over the Far East. And they were college students, and they didn't have a lot of money to travel. So what we did is to practice throughout the year and perform right there in Singapore, and sold tickets to raise money for the college kids
Wow.
so that we can buy tickets for them to fly. And that's how we traveled.
And then where would you
Sometimes
go?
by bus, sometimes by plane.
So as a choir, you would travel, and where would you travel to?
We went to Borneo, we went to Sarawak, and we went to Thailand,
Oh, my goodness. How awesome.
yeah, Bali, and various places close by, you know.
And what was your role in the choir at this time?
My husband was the main conductor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was the main conductor. He was a tenor. And so he ran the show, and I did the legwork.
I see. Okay. And so you gathered all these college students, traveled in the Far East, performing was it at churches or was it in different halls?
During the holidays. We traveled during the holidays.
I see. Okay. Wonderful. And you got to visit all sorts of countries as a result.
Oh, yes. We would take the school holidays because that's when they can go. Sometimes we will go by bus. Sometimes we will go by plane. Depends. It depends on how much we have saved
Sure.
in our performance.
And so what was one of your favorite places that you performed at?
One of the interesting places was longhouses. Have you heard of longhouses in Borneo?
No. What are longhouses?
Those people live in a very long house. Each family lives in one room, and they have a common veranda.
Okay.
So they would eat and sleep in the room, the whole family, and they will come out to the veranda. That's their living space. And it was very different, unique.
Sounds unique.
Because to get to their homes, they put ladders up.
Wow.
It was scary because they were bamboo
Oh my.
poles, made out of bamboo. We practically crawled up.
No kidding. And then you would perform on the veranda?
Yeah, we went to also spread the gospel, not just sing, but we spread the gospel, and that's how we advertised our school. And from there, the students, when they finish their high school, they will come to Singapore and stay there in the dormitory.
And continue that rotation of,
Yes.
of students coming
And the
from all
same
over.
thing happens with Thailand and
Wow. How fascinating.
yes.
And so what brought you to the United States?
Because my husband, Samson Benjamin, and I were very involved in missionary work. There was one scholarship that was given to the whole of the Far Eastern Seventh-day Adventist
Region?
division.
Okay.
And they decided to give it to my daughter.
Wow. The one scholarship and all
One
of
scholarship
your daughter got
to
it.
come to the United States.
No kidding.
So with that, she went to Washington. Walla Walla College.
Okay.
And then she studied there, and then she became a nurse.
And did you all come with her, or did she come by herself?
We sent her
Okay.
because we couldn't afford. I was still working
Okay.
because we have to send her money. And those days it was 3 Singapore dollars to 1 US dollar.
Wow.
So I did a lot of private tuition and teaching to earn some extra money so I can send it.
All related to music. Was your work always related to music?
Pardon?
Was your work always related to music and teaching?
Music,
and
teaching. Teaching was my main. I was a primary school teacher, and then music was my passion. And because my husband, Samson Benjamin, and I were both interested in music, we dedicated our time
That makes sense.
and
And you had a common interest that was
Yes.
able to get you to
to the church.
do all things. Yeah,
So
that's
with that, we were able to help the church and the school and the college kids to perform and raise money and travel and all that.
And I'm going to circle back. You mentioned that your daughter got the scholarship. She went to college out here. And then at what point did you come to the United States as well?
When she finished her nursing, she moved to Loma Linda. And then I was still By now, she has a profession. So my son was still very young, 12 years old or so, very young. So my mother was also in the United States, and so she got sick and had to go through a surgery, and she wrote to me and said, I need you. You need to come and be with me, because she couldn't communicate with other people very well. So that's how I came.
Wow. Okay.
And then my husband and my son came later.
Okay. So you all came in different times?
Yes, different times.
And when you got to the United States, did you stay involved in music?
Yes. Still involved in the church. Basically, our main work was in the church music.
Okay.
And then we got involved with the classical music downtown in Singapore. We also.
Wonderful. Well, Leela, your life seems to be driven by music. It's taken you to travel through the Far East. It's still your passion. And I'm just so grateful we were able to tell that story today.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Take care.